This is the Minority Report, and I'm Joe Hicks. Hypothetically speaking, what would happen if a nationally popular and white conservative talk radio host told his hypothetically mostly white audience to vote for, well, take your pick, Rick Perry or Mitt Romney, for reasons of pride, loyalty, and because he's white? Within a matter of hours, that talk show host would be off the air and forced into retirement at a minimum. Pitchforks and boiling oil might not be out of the question. For sure, mainstream media figures and liberal activists would condemn the comments as the worst sort of bigotry and racism. They'd be right, and joining them would be conservatives and Republicans who would also call for the host to be condemned, shunned, and quarantined as an obvious racist. Well, I've waited patiently for mainstream media sources or political figures to condemn the words of a popular black radio show host who did exactly that. I'm still waiting. This black radio personality called on blacks to vote for Obama come the 2012 election just because he's black. That host is Tom Joyner, a man who has a show with 8 million listeners and reaches 1 in 4 black American adults. In his best down-home vernacular, Joyner told his listeners, "Let's not even deal with the facts right now. Let's deal with just our blackness and pride and loyalty. We have the chance to re-elect the first African-American president, and that's what we ought to be doing. And I'm not afraid or ashamed to say that as black people, we should do it because he's a black man." Understand, this isn't some backwater radio show with only a few hundred listeners. Joyner is considered the most important voice in urban radio. So much so that Barack Obama appeared as Joyner's guest this past August. Obama used Joyner's show to plead for the support of his so-called economic plan and asked the audience to understand that he was working hard for them from the White House. So is it really okay in the multicultural America, the one crafted by liberals and leftists, to make crass racist appeals for racial unity as long as it comes from black folks, but definitely not okay if a similar appeal were to be made by someone white? If the deafening silence following Joyner's outburst is any indication, I guess the answer is yes. But it just isn't Joyner that gets a pass. HBO's Bryant Gumbel on the Real Sports show he hosts took these unabashedly bigoted shots at the NBA commissioner David Stern.
His efforts were typical of a commissioner who has always seemed eager to be viewed as some kind of modern plantation overseer, treating NBA men as if they were his boys.
So to make sure I'm clear on what he's saying, according to Gumbel, professional athletes making 7 figures or more, free to negotiate for the use of talents with highly paid agents, are the equivalent of slaves? Why does the nation's people routinely put up with such blatant double standards? The answer is that the corrosive effects of liberalism at the nation's colleges and universities, the existence of diversity and sensitivity training at every major corporation, as well as a consistent drumbeat of racist accusations and victim politics from race leaders, has created the current status quo, an accepted racial double standard. Liberal racism makes plenty of room for angry black racial attitudes or outright bigotry. Since most liberals believe that all white people are still unconscious racists and enjoy something they call white skin privilege, for them, black bigotry is an understandable outcome of slavery and discrimination. But I call it as I see it, and this amounts to nothing less than racist and demeaning condescension. So Oprah Winfrey has license to claim the prestigious Hermes flagship store in Paris discriminated against her because the store's doorman wouldn't allow her in after it closed. Bryant Gumbel can evoke slavery in the midst of contract negotiations between players and owners, and a black radio show host can tell his listeners to vote for someone just because they're black, and few eyebrows are raised. So, has America become a place where claims of racism are heard almost daily, when there's only a handful of actual white racists, and most of those who really are racist are black? Therefore, what? Acceptable? For the Minority Report, I'm Joe Hicks.